Martin Luther King Jr., a name known by millions. But who was the man behind the movement? Beyond the famous speeches and marches, there's a story many haven't heard. Today we uncover the personal life, struggles, and lesser-known moments of the man who changed America. Martin Luther King Jr. was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia, into a family steeped in faith. His father, Martin Luther King Sr., a Baptist minister, was an outspoken advocate for civil rights, while his mother, Alberta Williams King, was a talented musician and community leader. Growing up with his older sister, Christine, and younger brother, Alfred, King was influenced by strong values of leadership and activism. In 1953, during his doctoral studies in Boston, Martin Luther King Jr. married Coretta Scott, a native Alabamian studying at the New England Conservatory of Music. She not only managed their home life but also shared his passion for justice and emerged as an influential figure in the movement, advocating for peace and human rights. Together, they had 4 children: Yolanda, Martin III, Dexter, and Bernice. The King family was deeply involved in the civil rights movement, and each of their children carried forward their parents' legacy of activism. Education was a cornerstone of Martin Luther King Jr.'s upbringing. A gifted student, he skipped 2 grades and enrolled in Morehouse College at just 15 years old in 1944, following in the footsteps of his father and grandfather. Before college, King spent a summer on a tobacco farm in Connecticut, his first significant experience of race relations outside the segregated South. He was shocked by how peacefully the races mixed, noting in a letter, "I never thought that a person of my race could eat anywhere." This experience deepened his resolve against racial segregation. Under the mentorship of President Dr. Benjamin Mays at Morehouse, King further developed his understanding of social justice and leadership, viewing the fight for equality as a divine calling. After graduating from Morehouse in 1948 with a degree in sociology, King pursued theological studies at Crozer Theological Seminary, where he discovered Mahatma Gandhi's writings on nonviolent resistance. Excelling academically, he graduated as valedictorian in 1951. Following Crozer, King continued his education at Boston University, where he earned a PhD in systematic theology in 1955. His dissertation, which explored the relationship between God and man, reflected King's belief in a moral universe guided by divine justice. Martin Luther King Jr. first rose to national prominence during the 1955 Montgomery bus boycott, sparked by Rosa Parks' arrest for refusing to give up her seat to a white passenger. At just 26 years old, King was chosen to lead the boycott, which would last over a year and mark a turning point in the fight against racial segregation. King's philosophy of nonviolence, inspired by Gandhi, became the cornerstone of the movement. The boycott's success led to the desegregation of Montgomery's public buses, and it propelled King into the national spotlight as the face of the growing civil rights movement. He became the president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC, in 1957, an organization created to harness the power of black churches in the fight for equality. By 1963, King was at the forefront of the civil rights movement. That year, he led the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, where he delivered his famous "I have a dream" speech. Standing before a crowd of over 250,000 people at the Lincoln Memorial, King spoke passionately about his vision for an America free of racial inequality. His words, calling for freedom and justice for all, became one of the defining moments in the history of the civil rights movement. The speech and the march were pivotal in garnering national support for civil rights legislation, leading to the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which outlawed discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. In 1964, Martin Luther King Jr. was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his unwavering commitment to nonviolent resistance in the struggle for civil rights. He was the youngest person at that time to receive this prestigious award, which recognized his significant contributions to the fight against racial injustice. In a powerful gesture, King donated prize money to the civil rights movement, emphasizing his belief that the fight for equality required collective effort and resources. However, King's activism extended beyond civil rights. He began to speak out against the Vietnam War. In a 1967 speech at Riverside Church in New York City, King condemned the war, arguing that it diverted resources away from fighting poverty and improving social conditions in America. He described the war as an enemy of the poor and called for a united front against both racial injustice and economic inequality. In the late 1960s, King shifted his focus to economic injustice, launching the Poor People's Campaign. The campaign aimed to unite people of all races to demand better housing, jobs, and education, recognizing that the fight for civil rights was inseparable from the fight against poverty. Martin Luther King Jr. was named after Protestant reformer Martin Luther. At 12, he was devastated by his grandmother's death, feeling guilty because he had been at a parade without his parents' permission when she passed, which led him to attempt suicide by jumping from a second-story window, an event that deeply affected him. As an adult, King was arrested 29 times for his activism and faced constant threats. In 1956, his home was bombed during the Montgomery bus boycott, though his family was unharmed. Despite the dangers, he remained committed to nonviolence until his assassination on April 4, 1968, in Memphis. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy continues to inspire movements for equality and justice around the world. His leadership helped secure the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and his nonviolent philosophy influenced figures like Nelson Mandela. After his death, controversy surrounded the circumstances of his assassination. In 1999, the King family won a civil case against the U.S. government, with the jury concluding that government agencies were involved in a conspiracy to assassinate him. This legal victory reinforced the family's belief in a larger plot behind his death. King's life and work have been honored in countless ways. The Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial in Washington, D.C., stands as a powerful tribute to his leadership and vision. Additionally, his birthday was declared a national holiday in 1983, known as Martin Luther King Jr. Day, observed annually on the third Monday of January. Schools, streets, and monuments around the world bear his name, and his legacy is preserved in museums like the King Center in Atlanta, founded by Coretta Scott King. These honors serve as reminders of King's enduring influence and the continued relevance of his mission for peace and equality. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy continues to call us to action. His work for justice, equality, and nonviolence is more relevant than ever in today's world. The fight for civil rights is ongoing, and each of us has a role to play in making King's dream a reality. If you found this video meaningful, make sure to hit the like button, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel for more content on the lives of influential historical figures. Let's continue to keep Dr. King's legacy alive together.